And we are live, another broadcast here. This is Jon Rognerud, and we are excited as can be today because we're basically back. I had a little delay here for about a week or so, a little bit out of it actually. Had some things I had to take care of, to put it mildly, but all is well in the digital center Los Angeles style from good old chaosmap.com here. And in this media and marketing broadcast, we try to always, as I say, remove the chaos in your business to help you grow, to help you drive more traffic, get more leads, get more sales, customers, clients, patients, whichever industry you are in. This is going to help you today. Now, a small disclaimer as I say that, kind of going back on what I just said, it is uniquely for agencies today. So I think you will still get a lot of value from this if you are not, maybe just an independent, but primarily for agencies. And I call this the onboarding edition for Facebook ad account audits. And it is really truly for, onboarding clients or potential clients for advertising and really digital marketing at large, but specifically for advertising, because we're going to get into some business processes. We're going to get into metrics and the numbers. And this is the first version, part one of this extensive Facebook audit to really help you think about how to get quality clients into your fold. And so this is Jon Rognerud, as I mentioned, on the Media and Marketing Podcast. We're actually live on Facebook, and we are live or somewhat live here because you're listening to it on the podcast, but also you can find this out on YouTube. And some of the links that I provide will be also added in the show notes and out on YouTube and also on Facebook. And by the way, a small pitch here. If you want to talk about this, just go to chaosmap.com/talk, chaosmap.com/talk. There's unfortunately nothing to buy there. This is just a helpful gang of experts that wants to help you, and you may be even talking to me as well. So that's all good. Well, you know what? Let's dig into it, shall we? Well, first of all, you're looking, if you are live here, looking at a screenshot. I am not on camera today because I've had this funky little allergic reaction today. And my nose is just red as the red-nosed reindeer. So you don't want to see that. Anyway, let me turn off the little point of interest there. And let's dig in. So one of the first things that we learn in marketing, and anytime we talk to businesses, is understanding that there's a workflow systems, processes. If you have those developed, this is going to be helpful no matter what you do. In fact, if you're trying to scale up an agency or scaling up your business, the keyword or keywords are systems and processes. And in the marketing realm, I'm just scrolling up to the next slide here. Nothing fancy here other than to just kind of remind you that if you're talking about marketing and marketing in general, what does that look like? Where do you start? In fact, at a very simple description level, marketing is just sort of a pre-frame or positioning of your brand or message that allows a sales process to take hold, right? So it's everything that you do beforehand. And really, when the sales process comes into play, if you've done a great job at the marketing, sales virtually close themselves, right? You should not really be working that hard. So it's all about authority, trust building, know, like, and trust. You've heard that many, many times. And of course, that's true. And I put up this slide as a reminder from my friend Neil Patel here, neilpatel.com. Great guy, by the way, lots of resources. But it starts in this sort of funnel concept of awareness, interest, decision, and action. And if you think about this really for anything you do, life or business, this will apply. It's funny how that works, right? Well, the truth is, this makes a lot of sense. You can't have somebody take action on anything unless you have built some level of visibility through awareness, right? And as you go down that tree or down that funnel, you want to build some interest. and desire. The old ADA copywriting formula applies here as well. The fact that you have now gotten the attention and that you have brought in some eyeballs, if you will, to your world is great, but you need to generate interest. It's simply not enough to say, hey, we're cool over here, we can help you, click buy. Not going to happen. So once you need to also then build in a decision opportunity for them as you go down this funnel. And of course, finally, a call to action, making it real easy, friction-free, a straight path right to where you want them to go. Now, in the e-com sense, that would most likely be a purchase, add to cart, right? Checkout. But if it's a traditional lead gen, it could be a pre-frame through a blog post or through a download to a white paper or a checklist or a guide, right? All of these things are just tactics within this framework here: awareness, interest, decision, and action. So I wanted to set this frame up for you as we go into the actual document here I want to share with you today. And you're seeing that right now. This will be available as a download. And there's really 2 steps in this with a bunch of sub-steps. And this is the agency edition. And it is the ultimate Facebook audit agency onboarding version. And it's the online sales growth structure for ad account audits. And I put ad accounts in general because this applies to Google as well. Google Ads, Google AdWords in the old days. So if you're doing that, then this is going to apply. But I am sort of calling out Facebook specifically here because we're going to talk about the Facebook Pixel. And this is part 1. The part 2 is going to be where we actually break down an audit and what that looks like. And these are things you can actually sell online, and you can make them available as a product for your business. So let's start in. One of the first things that we like to do is ask top level. So you're going to hear, by the way, a little bit about how we do this, and through learning over the years. And it's not been pretty all the time. We've frankly lost accounts for plain old stupidity. So nothing unique there. I think we all have been there, right? And by the way, if you're coming on here and watching this, you're welcome to talk about this further if you'd like at chaosmap.com/talk. And happy to do that for 15 minutes to see if we can help you with anything. And this is not a sales fest or a sales pitch. This is simply trying to guide you because we love doing this, and that's how that goes. So step 1 in this business ecosystem, actually, before I get into that, sort of top level as we're chit-chatting, because you ask about the weather, you talk about, perhaps where you're calling in from, create a little bit of rapport, right? I'm not going to do a sales call here today and the specifics of that, but it's just natural. You meet somebody in the line at Starbucks, you're not going to say, hey man, here's my business card. Let's talk. No, it's all just top level stuff. It's what we humans love to do without committing to anything, really. It's just niceties, right? Well, it makes sense. But shortly after that, we get into, so what's your goals? What are your goals? Where are you today? Where would you like to be? Put that up on the chart here. Main goals. And then you get into revenue and growth. Now, depending on who you talk to here, hopefully it's the decision maker. You want that for also proposal and signatures. But, you want to kind of get a sense of where they are at, where they've been, where they're going. If you can get this down to a number, that's perfect. So we are a $5 million business today. We want to grow to, that plus X in the next 90, 18 months, 90, 180 days. I put here, 360. We typically engage in 6 months to 12 months cycles, but you'll get a sense for that, right? And it could also be that sometimes they don't reveal the numbers because it's early in the conversation, and they're gonna try to get a sense for you. And by the way, if you've done great marketing here, you can definitely get into this conversation early on, but it may also simply be, well, we'd like to grow by 10% this year. Okay, we'll get back to what those numbers mean. So let's just kind of get into what we now call the business ecosystem. And you can see that here. I've outlined that at the top because we're really going to be talking about both of those in step 1, company data, and step 2, sales funnel health. And in the company data, And by the way, there's different ways to do this, right? If you have a sales process yourself where you have input forms and you capture through questionnaires and surveys, you'll have some of this data like the client info or the prospect info, the business data like company info, type of business, is it an e-com, lead gen, that sort of top level metadata. That's going to be step one. Step two is what products or services do they have available? What offers uniquely do they have available? Offers are great because here you can very quickly talk about what's working and what's not. What offers are available? Are there any upsells and cross sells? What does your sort of current state of affairs look like in the business, right? And we're still on that company data side here in this matrix. And then of course, step three, sales cycle or sales process here. Uncover that, have them talk to you about that, learn that, understand it. You should be able to recognize any, red flags or any issues with it. If they start if they have a limited conversation around this, well, there's a lot of opportunity to help people, but depending on where you're at with your agency or your own sort of growth curve, it may be a warning sign that it's not as good as it appears to be initially. So that's where you uncover the sales process. And as I said, what's working now, and have them talk about that. Now, just in this, you can take some notes here, which is preferred. We're going to come back and ask some more questions. The more they talk, the better. If they have a lot of data points, that's great. And by the way, while it's great that they talk, you also want to control the conversation. So again, this is not a sales call, but you're adding value to the conversation, but letting them sort of own it to the level of providing data points to you without controlling the conversation. And step two, as we move over to the right, we're going to talk about their sales funnel. Now we're digging in a little bit further. We're going to talk about their funnels, right? Do they have 1, 2, 3? What does that look like? The marketing funnels, which essentially are URLs as we look down this sheet here. And if they have no funnel, this might be a red flag for you, but this is an opportunity also perhaps sell or position a funnel that is working. So you're adding value right away. Maybe you include it as a freebie because of the length of the contract and the agreement and or the size or scope of the dollar amount, right? And you want to review the user experience here. And then this might be an opportunity to do it right there and then and give them some tips and insights. I typically don't like to do too much sort of consulting at that level. Better to just capture the information as you go. But, this is sort of as I said, the communication and the capturing of data is going to be important, and you need some levels of flexibility within this. But we move to step two inside the sales funnel health, and we get into KPIs. KPIs are basically key performance indicators. One of the top things that we like to ask out the gate is CPA and AOV, cost per acquisition, or CPL, depending on sort of the business, and AOV, average order value. Certainly the conversion rate for landing page, the percentage there, and the conversion rate for sales page. These are important metrics that you can capture and start doing some internal calculations and see where they're at. Plus the way they speak and the way they talk, they may have lots of data here, which is great news for you. If they don't, that may be another flag, right? But again, you are here to help, and there's an opportunity potentially. By the way, in a little bit, we're going to talk about how you can determine this pretty easily as we kind of go through this doc. And for anybody who's coming on here right now, if you ever have any questions on this or you want to talk, just go to chaosmap.com/talk. As easy as that can be, and we can jump on a 15-20 minute call and we'll take you through some of this stuff. Glad to help. And that is that. So the final step in the sales funnel health matrix over here is the pixel. So we talked about the funnel, the KPI, the pixel. And since we're talking about Facebook, as I said, this applies to Google as well. Google has the ability to use a pixel for audience building as well, and retargeting, remarketing in Google terms. But essentially, here we want to look at, are they building out Facebook pixeled events, standard events, add to cart, lead purchase, view content, etc. And are they tracking properly? Do they have good reporting in place? Can they talk about that a little bit? Is that something that you could take a look at? Ideally, if you can get access to their Facebook account, just send them your partner ID. your business partner ID, that is, and log in. You can start looking at some of this stuff. Again, that may be after the fact. Some agencies I know will just do it as a complimentary kind of, let's show you what we can do and give you some feedback. Others, that would be a part of an audit. Now, I talked about that at the top here, where we're going to talk about a more detailed Facebook audit in part 2. So this is not getting into technicalities. As you can tell, this is more on the business top level side, the onboarding piece. And check the tracking. Are they using exclusions? What about custom audiences, lookalike audiences, retargeting? This will tell you a lot right here on the state of affairs and what they're doing. Now, what I should say is step 1 is the business gathering piece, right? Step 2 is more getting into the details here. Well, between those two, you're going to get a very good sense of where they stand. And very often we come across companies who have really done very well on the business side, and they are growing, but they need help with digital, and they have not figured out this this piece on the right here with the sales funnels and the ability to grow that. And so that's all about market reviews on the step 1 area. The business, is it viable in the marketplace? Do they have sort of an entrenchment, or they have positioned themselves as a quality player in the marketplace? And step 2 is, can you scale this profitably? I can say that. Then that becomes your second question, because you may have a position, that, hey, this business has been around, it's viable, it's just too much work, because their philosophy, culture, and approach has always been that advertising is an expense, not an investment. Perhaps some of the people that you're talking to, and there may be several, have a philosophy of, hey, we know what's working. They are not teachable. They're not open to new ideas and thinking that will help them. This can be a problem. And so even if you come back with stats and they're looking good, you're going to hurt yourself because you're getting engaged with somebody who is really not on your playing field. You need to think of this as a partnership. And I know you've heard that before, but truly you can get sucked in here. And so you want to be careful. All right. So we covered step 1 and step 2. Step 1, company data. Step 2, sales funnel health, and some of the details there. Now, here we're going to dive into more of this idea of how do we determine if it's a good fit. And I could talk about this forever. We've been doing this for 10 years plus now at chaosmap.com. If you want to talk about that too, happy to kind of give you some insights of hard learning here of chaosmap.com/talk. Welcome to head on over there and book yourself a time on the calendar to chat about that. But really what I wanted to do with this chart is talk about our process, talk about a process hopefully that you can use. And by the way, I'm going to add this link, as I mentioned. So as you think about this, how do you really determine, how this is going to work for you? I talked a little bit about this and the teachability and the culture of the organization, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, a larger organization may be a better play for you than a smaller one. Larger organizations will have longer sales cycles. They will have longer decision trees, perhaps, and certainly decision trees, as in more people to be involved. And when I say sales cycle for you, it may be, a 6-figure agreement and it takes you 3 months to close versus a smaller agreement for a smaller firm, which may take 2 weeks, right? Or a week or 24 hours, which we've also done. So let's go back now to the second level here, is the market review. That is the market review. Is the business viable? So if it's established, I have a decision tree on my chart here, and we talk about a no, absolutely not. This is not a viable business. It's too early in the stage of growth. Maybe it's literally brand new. I mean, technically speaking, you should have a filtering system at the top end that through your sales process would have filtered these guys right out, right? Now, there is a model here where you can open up your own pipeline to just literally let anybody come in here and filter out by self-selection. some smart organization and logic around your forms can do that. Gravity Forms has that logic enabled. So depending on their answers, you can put them straight out to, if it's a no, refer or sell training course. So you could refer out to somebody else that might be able to help them or a better fit. Or if you have a training course, sell them your training course to help them, or partner up as an affiliate. You can do an affiliate arrangement where you're basically sending them a great resource and you can pull back a little bit of money. It's not about the money per se, but every little bit helps. And so that's an opportunity for you. Now, if you do speak to them, set the call, and you go through the step 1 and step 2, you'll learn very quickly if it's a fit or not. And you can send them over to the training course, as I mentioned. Now, if it's a yes, and on the chart here, you'll see that I put a dotted line to a yes, because we're not quite complete yet. You may have had a great call with one of the owners of the company. You've gone through and looked at their info, understand their products and offers. You understand where they want to be in 90, 180 days, 360. You understand they have a sales process, but they haven't shared too much of the funnels and the KPIs, and that leaves you hanging a little bit. Well, you could still position yourself and present a proposal, and that's what you see here in the chart. So this document doesn't include an invoice and an onboard date officially yet. You're simply sending a proposal, an indication of it verbally on what might happen in terms of your onboarding date. I wouldn't share too much on pricing here because frankly, you could come into this play of step 2 and find out the KPIs don't even match. You have maybe priced yourself out of the conversation. A proposal at this stage would be lighter. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we expect based on our conversation. But we need access to your analytics, which would be Google, Facebook, of course, the account. And that becomes a document that, builds trust and likability through the process. They can see that you have a strong process. So we've done that, and we've closed deals that way. It's not our preferred method. We have been sort of forcing, as in positioning our authority to get them into the sales funnel conversation. And that really adds value here, because the sales review on the sort of the right side here on the chart, when you're asking yourself, can you scale profitably with this? Do the numbers come back? Are the CPAs, the cost per acquisition, less than the order value? These are significant metrics that will really help you establish that answer. Can you scale these guys? Is this a good fit? Does the culture match yours? Is it also an industry perhaps that you have knowledge in already? Although, you probably have heard this before. We certainly hear it all the time. Well, can you really help us because you don't have necessarily experience in this? Well, the truth is, most people would say, well, my business is different. Dan Kennedy talks about this all the time. Marketing is marketing. Sales is sales. There's just a different process. Plus, if you come in as a brand new to an industry, you'll have different perspectives. You will not be a lazy ass coming in there talking about, well, we did this, and this, and the previous, it worked really well. Yes, that helps, but coming in with fresh perspectives, new research, new methods, new processes will really inspire your client and will really allow you to do a great job. So I have a little bit of beef of that, but that's fine. If you're a client listening to this, happy to talk to you about this as well. chaosmap.com/talk, available to do that through a calendar where you can select a date time there. So as we kind of coming out to a close here, if we determine that this is a growing company, then yes, here to the proposal, invoice, and onboard date, you should have a really strong connection to all the data points, to the officers at the company, and certainly be able to break down a very detailed document about what you can do, as well as the numbers, the goals, the growth curves that you anticipate, the ad spend, what you're planning to do, the milestones, all of these things that'll be important to map yourself to success, but also allow them to see your process as you onboard them. Now, if it's gone through the market review and the business is viable, the scale profitably is moving forward, but it turns out that it needs a lot of help. like they have all the essence of a gold mine, but they have really effed up their digital marketing. They're not there yet. You may find that the cost to sort of work ratios is just not exactly where you want to be. Some of the conversations that you had with the owners, some of the culture clashes, it's just, you feel it in your gut. I mean, the numbers, yes, they speak volumes, but there's this other layer, right? It's the mindset. It's the human psychology, the connection. All of that matters because you are partnering up. This is a relationship. So here's where we say, no, doesn't quite fit today, but we can consider, instead of do it with you, do it for you, rather, we do it with you. So that becomes a very powerful opportunity for you to position your own consulting program. This also allows you to build training modules and training videos that they can use and that you can leverage later as you build your own training course, right? Really powerful to do it with you. So that basically becomes a little different agreement. It will have a different pricing structure, potentially, and it will allow you to work with their team on a set schedule where you review things and you recommend what's next. And while that sounds simple, it can get complex. You want to be very specific about, the hours and the commitments. Also, the results is not going to be on you as much. Yes, you want that data to be good, but they are going to be executing it and they are going to be driving it. You're basically the coach. You're mentoring them on how to do it and you're coaching them, but you're not doing the work. So that's the Do It With You consulting program. So I hope this has been helpful. I'm very excited about this because I was able to put this all on one sheet here in version 1 of the agency onboarding for sales growth in your own firm, and also very importantly, helping your prospect and potentially now your new client to come on board and understand that you are not a fly-by-night. You are certainly experienced, authoritative, knowledgeable, communicative. You are inspiring them to take the next step so that you can close that deal and have a great client with multiple opportunities. And again, if you'd like to talk about this, happy to do that at chaosmap.com/talk. There is a calendar there. You can choose from that. It would be inspiring to talk to you as well, to hear what you might have to say and what you're asking about there. And then this document essentially is going to be made available for you so that you can download it, kind of go through it, listen to this podcast, this broadcast, this live cast, this YouTube cast, and basically see how does this fit into your world. And in part 2 of this Facebook audit, this ultimate Facebook audit, we're going to talk about what are the specifics of an actual Facebook audit. And you've seen many out there, and you can search it up on Google, obviously, and other places. You might be part of a community or forum, and there's a lot of input on this, but ultimately, you want to make sure that it follows a streamlined process that you can obviously duplicate, that doesn't take too much time, while you add lots of value and lots of interesting insights and recommendations that your client or prospect can either take away as a standalone. Hey, this was fantastic. We want to take this and do it ourselves, or allow it to position you as the expert with really the next step is, hey guys, can you help me, right? So in our case, hey Jon, can you help me? Hey Chaos Map, can you help me? And that becomes a really fun, interesting, and valuable proposition for next step. So anyway, as I close out here, if you'd like to talk more, go to chaosmap.com/talk. Really enjoy making these. As I said, I've been out a little bit here, but back in the swing next week. We're going to have some exciting new authors and speakers and trainers on the broadcast. So look forward to that as well. But for now, we're going to close out the Ultimate Facebook Audit Agency Onboarding version. Hope you loved it. I love making this for you, and we'll talk soon. Jon out.